By saying thank you for having me here today. My name's Taylor Huber, and I'm the owner operator of TD Custom Leather, which is just handmade leather items. So I make anything from belts, wallets, knife sheaths, pretty much everything from saddlery down, I would say. I don't really dabble in saddles, but maybe one day I'll get there. So to start, I graduated from Texas A&M University in Kingsville, Texas with an agribusiness and accounting minor. And this is kind of how I got into leather. I was super heavy into my accounting degree at the time, and I wanted something, a custom leather good made. I think it was a belt at the time. And I was in college. I didn't have a ton of money to spend on something like that, and I wanted to know why it cost that much. So I went to Hobby Lobby. I bought the basics, the basic tool set, a piece of leather, and I started making earrings. And I just wanted to see what all went into it. Why was it so expensive? Why did it take that long? And my first stuff looked terrible. But here's a couple items that I made, like a hanging letter, a belt. Here you can kind of see, like, I didn't edge it, I didn't line it at the time. The tooling's not great. And then some cuffs. So those are just some of the first items that I made, and you'll see as I progress on throughout the slides. So I started working. I graduated college. I did some leather throughout college. I did get my first job at Producers in College Station, Texas. I was the agronomy operations manager there, so I dealt with farmers, ranchers, fertilizer, herbicide, all kinds of stuff like that. During that time, I really started working with leather a lot. So I would go to work at 7, come home at 7. If you know how agriculture works, there's different seasons and a lot of long hours, and then sometimes shorter days. So I would come home and work really late, and it's not like me to not get enough sleep and then go to work the next day. So I started doing leather from probably 7 until 11, 12, started billing out my clients, started getting a lot better. And then after about a year, I got married to my husband, and I decided, I'm going to give this a shot to do it full time for 1 year. At the time, I moved back to Kingsville, which is where he was living at the time and worked. And with his job, he's in the cattle industry, we had a house provided and some bills paid, so I really didn't have a ton of stress. I didn't have a lot of bills, so I was like, as long as I can feed myself and pay for the necessities, I will try for 1 year. So after that, I decided that I need to buy a shop. I wanted to separate my work from my house. So I bought this portable building, this shed. It's a 12 by 24. That way I could move it around in the future if I ever decided to move again, which here we are in Tonkawa. I can just pick the building up and move my whole life. So I bought that. And then this is a picture of my husband and I. He helps me a lot, obviously. We did our first show. This was in Uvalde, Texas at the time at the Hunters Roundup, and I was very successful. I met a lot of people. So I do some shows, but I mainly specialize in custom work. But here and there, when we moved to a new place, so I really wanted to get out in the community, let them know I'm here. Good. So here's a picture of the shop, how it started. My husband and my father-in-law, they ran all the electricity. They put in the insulation, the flooring, the siding, all of that, which you'll see coming. But as soon as I moved this to Kingsville, my husband got an opportunity and we moved elsewhere. So we picked up the building and we moved it, which is what I intended it for. And then I started getting really serious, so I had my logos made and started putting logos on everything. I really want to get my name out there and really stick to something. I think in the beginning I had a couple like TD Custom Leather Works, or just everything was a little bit different, so I really tried to make everything the same. I changed all my social media to one handle, made my business cards, and came up with these logos that I stick with now. And then here's a picture of me. This is with my second sewing machine that I bought. I guess I kind of skipped over my first one that I bought in college. I worked at Chili's to pay for that one, but I finally got it. It is important to note that I've based all of this on like a cash business, so I didn't borrow any money. It was important for me to save up the money, buy it in cash. I don't want to owe any money on anything. So that's how I got here, finally saved up and got this patch machine, which is for shoes. It's really like a boot patch machine, but I do a lot of Hey Dudes and Converse, wedding shoes, maybe just sew patches onto bags, anything like that. You have to have a special machine where the presser foot makes a 360-degree turn versus a traditional sewing machine that just moves back and forth. Good. So this is kind of what I look like now. We finished out the shop. We put in, here's a picture of like the siding and the flooring. We went with the harder siding so that way when we move, like drywall might crumble and shift. So this has been helpful. We put the flooring in, and then you can kind of just see my workspace. It's not anything crazy, but I have like my work desk, my business desk to the left of that. I pretty much tool everything, my dyeing table. Then over here I have my sewing machines, sanders, burnishers, all my leather, and a little bit of storage up top. And then here is some of my most recent work. So this is kind of what that patch machine does, these Hey Dudes. This is a show harness for cattle. People who show cattle usually wear them, and the number goes on the other side. And then I also do a ton of stuff for weddings. So that's a wedding sign-in book. But I also do like shoes and other styles of sign-in books, like picture frames, all kinds of different things. So how did I end up in Oklahoma from South Texas? Tonkawa specifically. My husband runs Beefmasters, so he works for Craig Ranch, and they specialize in reproductive, I would say. So embryo transfer, IVF, all that kinds of stuff. And they also have commercial cows. But so I get to do the full circle thing. I get to play with them while they're healthy and breathing, and then I also get the finished product of doing all the leather part. So yeah. And then how did I become involved in Ponca City? Well, it was through the Ponca City Real Estate Company. I was a realtor in Texas, and I recently got my real estate license here in Oklahoma. This is an important aspect of the leather because it allowed me to get involved into the community. I go to a lot of community events. I get to meet a lot of people, talk with a lot of people. So I would say these two things go hand in hand. And leather does kind of have a season, I guess. Christmas time, Valentine's Day, birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day. During the summer, it might not be as busy because people are out with their families, going on vacations, things like that. And that's kind of when I would fill in my time with real estate. So how can the community support my business? Simply just by liking my pages, following me, sharing any content that you see that you might like. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I show a lot of cool behind the scene things, like how I make everything, from cutting it out all the way to the finished product. That would be on TikTok, and then I share some of that stuff on Facebook and Instagram, but that's more picture-based items and things like that. So I think that I've covered the gist of everything. Does anybody have any questions about what I do?
How much does it run to cover Hey Dudes with leather?
Okay, so the question was how much does it cost for a pair of Hey Dudes in leather? So the answer to that is any custom work would just need to, if you reach out to me personally, I can provide a quote because it's all varied depending on what you want on it, what kind of stitch you want on it, just different things and ways that you can customize things. Depends on the pricing. But if anybody ever wants to place an order in the future, you can just text, call, email, message me on any social media, or go on my website. I have a place where you can request a quote, and I'll get back with you usually within 24 hours.
What's the turnaround time on that? Say I wanted something for Christmas, and have I waited too
Yeah, so if you want something for Christmas, unfortunately, you've waited too long. I closed my books for that in November. But my turnaround time varies depending on the time of the year, but I try to stay around a month out or less if I can. So typically, I'm going to be between a month, maybe a month and a half, if I'm pushing it that time of year for any custom orders.
So how would you launder your jacket you have on?
So something like what I'm wearing right now, I would create my patterns, which kind of the videos will help explain this more. But most of the time I use blue painter's tape to come up with any kind of pattern, like for the Hey Dudes or something like this. I would just put it on, kind of trace out the design, and then perfect it from there with like straight lines, things like that, cut it out, tool it, and then just kind of glue and stitch it to the jacket.
Can you wash that though?
No, I would say you can't wash it. You could take it to the cleaners, I would say, but you could hand wash it. Leather can get wet. You just have to oil it. So if I could get this wet, like I could hand wash this, get it wet. I would just need to put oil on it. Over time, it might get a hair darker, but if anyone that owns leather pieces, it will darken up over time, just like the natural oils on our skins and things like that. Any other questions? Or did I cover most of it in the presentation? I try to be thorough for you guys.
What are some of the most unique pieces you've ever done?
Some of the most unique pieces I've ever done. I have to think about that one. I mean, I do get to do quite a bit of cool things. I would say the wedding sign-in books that are custom picture frames with the last name in it with some tooling around it, those are pretty unique because you get to take it obviously to your wedding and the guests sign around the leather piece. So it's something that's like really beautiful to hang in your home versus a traditional wedding guest sign-in book. You might, I don't know, it might just go on a bookshelf and you might open it once a year to kind of look back, but this is something that can hang on your wall that's unique, no one else has it. That's a cool one. Also, maybe some of the heels that I do, those are pretty unique. Wrapping the leather heels, putting leather over the toe strap, and if I could come up with one more, what would it be? I don't know. I build a lot of cool stuff every day. I don't know. I love my job. I get to build all kinds of stuff and be creative, and that's kind of why I mainly focus in custom work as well. So could I have a storefront? Possibly. But then I would kind of be reproducing the same thing, a lot of the same thing, just to have it out there to make a sale. And I don't want to get burnt out. I like to just do something different every time and be creative with it. So that's kind of why I focus on custom stuff.
Do you ever go to shows or anything like that, or do anything outside of, your shop?
Yes. So the question was, do I go to shows? Yes, I do go to some shows. I'm not like on a circuit or anything by any means, but if there's a good opportunity, I'll take it. I'll go set up if I have some stuff in stock. I do have a website. It's tdcustomleather.com, and it does have some of the stuff that I have in stock, but it's not going to have a ton of items on there. It's just going to be a few things of what I have. So in Ponca, I have gone to a few shows just to let people know that I'm here, since we've only been here for about 7 months now. And then I do have a show coming up in South Texas, December 14th through the 16th, and it's a progress show, so that really fits my business. So I think it'll be worth it for me to go set up there, and I have built some stuff for shows, but all in all, I would say I don't go to a ton of vendor events. I mainly do custom stuff. If I have a little extra time, when it slows down, I will build some stuff and try to find a vendor event to go to.
Are there any automated machines that you could get in the future that would be able to mass produce for what you do?
Yeah, so kind of. So the answer was, the question was, are there any automated machines that can help mass produce what I'm doing? this is kind of be a long answer for you, but let's say you go to like a department store like Cavender's or something like that. They have belts there. Those are, there's like a roller, and it has the design like on a metal roller. So they just get the leather wet and pull it through, and it rolls onto the belt and dye it. So that would be mass produced. I don't think that's something I would ever want to get into, but there are machines out there like that. I have no idea what the cost of them would be. And what else would there be? I think everything else is pretty much, there's not really anything out there that I could really mass produce. I mean, other than stamping things, like stamped items. But you can kind of tell between like custom and I guess like department store, even though it's still nicer, right? But some things you might look for would be the belts, it's kind of shiny, maybe a slight plastic feeling, even though it might be like 100% genuine leather. Just not pliable. If it looks exactly the same, like over and over and over, and maybe there's a mistake where the antique doesn't sit right in the groove, well, that's going to be on every single section of that belt. So obviously handmade custom stuff, there's probably going to be a mistake somewhere on there where the swivel knife ran off a hair, but I'm a human, so I can't make it all perfect all the time. But I won't send anything out that I don't like 100% stand behind. So
do you draw all this out, or do you have patterns that you trace, or what's the start of it?
okay, so the question was, do I draw this out, or do I have patterns that I go off of? And the answer is I hand draw everything. So the way my process works, say you want a custom piece, you want a custom belt. The process would be I take half a deposit up front, the rest when it's completed. The deposit will hold your place in line, and that allows me to draw out the design. So I'll hand draw whatever we talked about, initials, brands, deer, I don't know, like your favorite dog. I mean, I've done a lot of different things on there. Once it's drawn, I'll send you a picture and you'll say, I love it, or I want to change this. I don't like the cursive, I want a block font. So then I'll draw it or fix it, send you another picture. Once the design's confirmed, I'll finish it up, and then I'll ship it. So a lot of my videos, like on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, it shows behind the scenes of me drawing some stuff out. And I do have a good following on TikTok. I have a lot of other makers. I kind of use it as like an educational thing to help other people too, just to show them like maybe tips and tricks that they didn't think of, or things that make my process easier, or how to draw, just some, again, like tips and lines and things to practice, stuff like that. Can I do boots? No. I would say there's some things like, could I do boots? That's a whole trade in itself. Like you have a boot maker, you have a saddle maker. So that's a whole nother thing, but I do have the machinery to do boots if I ever decided I want to get into it. I'm sure through YouTube I could probably repair a few things, but I might just stay out of that for a while.
Have you always been an artist? Because looking at your pictures and how vibrant the colors are and the lines are so fine, have you always been an artist?
So the question was, have I always been an artist? And the answer is no. Yeah, I actually, for a while I was embarrassed to send any drawings to a customer because I had to say, it's not going to look like this once it's finished, I promise. But I have taken a couple classes like online. I've bought in a few workbooks that there's rules that I've learned to drawing. So I've had to learn different things. But no, I used to be a stick figure, can't draw a flower kind of person, but I have learned a lot of things over time and just a lot of practice. So that's how I've gotten better now.
You do amazing work.
Thank you.
Speak for yourselves.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Is that going to be it, or do we have any other questions?
Is there anything more that we can do for you other than this right here that you have up on your slide?
Yeah. So I mean, most of my business is online. I ship everywhere in the United States. I have a lot of clients and customers just from social media. If I could ask anything of y'all, it would just be if I post something, like just try to show up, stop by, say hi, and just word of mouth, really. That's how I've tried to get most of my business. So just order a product, talk about how much you love it, why you like it, and just send them my way, and I'll be happy to help. All right, well, thank y'all so much for having me today.